Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavaतीtam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namam Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme precept. Yoga Vasishtha, Volume 1, Vairagya Prakarana, Section 3. We are just in the introductory level stage of Yoga Vasishtha. And Bharadwaj said to sage Valmiki, adopting the example of Sri Rama, please explain to me the gradual stages leading to the state of liberation in life, so that I may experience supreme bliss. And sage Valmiki gives the highlight, the summary in a very short statement. Just as a subtle thread sustains a garland of pearls, in the same way the physical body is sustained by the subtle threads of vasanas. Your attention is drawn to the vasanas. Vasanas are subtle impressions. The theme is to understand the world you are experiencing is not real. Not because there is some defect in the world, but defect in your perception. The world is Brahm. Brahm means illusion. The purpose of acquiring spiritual knowledge is to remove this Brahm, to remove this illusion. Brahma Niras, that's the purpose of scripture. Negating the illusion. Again, I will remind you of three types of illusion. Vastutva Bhavana, the illusion that objects are real, and that's based upon your mind and senses. But your mind and senses are based on your nervous system. So simply because certain things come out in your computer by the Google, that doesn't mean everything is real. I'm joking. All the world you are experiencing is this Google type of nervous system, backed up by karmas of the past. The soul becomes equipped with different bodies depending upon its level of evolution, led by karmas. So all the jivas you see in the world are souls. Souls are in reality one soul, God, Brahman. Just like the sun is only one. But you see reflected suns, countless of them. In so many situations, many of them are extreme, tragic situations. I will not describe, you can easily look into the reflection. And many are wonderful situations. But that's all, these are allegorical to make you understand that all the story of reflected sun is not real. Sun alone is real. And therefore, remind you again, manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the cause of bondage and release. And the subtler basis of the mind is in the terms of samskaras and vasanas. Samskaras are deepest impressions. They are like seeds. Vasanas are like a sprouting stage of seeds. In a simple manner, all your experiences are due to the vasanas. Just like the light of the sun passing through a cloud. Sometimes the sun becomes completely restricted, no light passes. But as cloud begins to thin out a little, the light begins to pass. And as it begins to pass, it gets refracted into rainbow colors and creates many colors. In the same way, your mind acts like a cloud. When you purify the vasanas, cloud becomes thinned out cloud. And instead of restricting the sun, it begins to glorify the sun. So that's, if you bring your mind to that state, that's called liberation. Eventually, that mind simply melts away. It will not gather opacity. It will simply shine on and dissolve. But in order to understand vasanas, turn your attention to two types of vasanas. Shubha Vasana, Ashubha Vasana. Ashubha Vasana is also known as Malin Vasana, impure Vasana. Impure Vasana has 5 ingredients known as kleshas, afflictions. Ignorance, egoism, raga, attachment, dvesha, hatred, and fear of death. Mind that is constantly dominated by these 5 goes on creating Malina Vasanas. And Malina Vasanas keep the soul confined to the world process, keep the soul in a state of bondage. It's good to understand that all your experiences of pain and pleasure, joy and sorrow, light and darkness are based upon the vasanas. If sattvic vasanas develop in your mind and kleshas those kleshas or afflictions, they become attenuated. The same world you live in becomes a source of immense joy. Try to understand that applies even to the smallest little things. You like a particular room. You like the window done in a particular way. You like to see a squirrel come into certain area. I'm joking. All this is the play of vasana. The impure vasanas sprout in the fertile soil of ignorance. Ignorance is avidya. The mind that has not developed a sensitive aspiration for God realization, for enlightenment. That mind becomes the fertile soil for developing egoism, attachment, hatred. And all this creates complex impressions in your mind. And they become the basis of constant fear. There are so many things that cause insecurity in your heart. But if you analyze all, the source behind all these types of fears and insecurities is fear of your own body, fear of death. So if you do not allow satsanga or integral yoga to enter your life, if you do not allow yoga sadhana to enter, then you are constantly creating malina vasana. One type of malina vasana moves away, another malina vasana arises. The impure vasana sprouts in the fertile soil of ignorance and grows luxuriantly with manifold branches of love and hatred, raga and dvesha. It is protected and nourished by ahamkara, egoism. This malina vasana is the cause of repeated birth and death. On the other hand, the vasanas that have been rendered as unproductive or as roasted seeds, which are meant only to sustain the body of the sage, are called Shubha Vasana, pure desires. Let me give you more details. Vasanas exist in 5 stages. In children, vasanas are prasupt, latent. All children, they appear such innocence. But as they grow, you begin to see ego and its activity operating a growing child. So first stage is prasupta, latent. Next stage is called tanu. Tanu means attenuated. If you have led your life in an ashram, in a congenial circumstance, you are not giving opportunity for your anger and hate. Say they become like frozen snakes. They become harmless. But one should not become deluded. Simply because you have not been angry for a month, don't say that you have conquered anger. Simply because you have not noticed your own egoism, do not develop the idea, I am the humblest person in the world. So, the tanu state is a great state, you are advancing, but it is a deceptive stage if you stop your sadhana and begin to feel that you have become perfect. So therefore, now come to another level. People who express negativity only under certain provocation. The masses who are considered very cultured, shishtachar, very good people. In practical dealings, they are good. But then, under provocation, their goodness moves away and they begin to harbor ill will. They may sustain the ill will for years of each, in a simple way to understand. Sometimes when a big party comes in and you have to welcome them, and you don't have time to go through a complete cleanup of your hall and everything. All that you do is put the dust under the rug. So they come, they have a good festivity, but many of them fall sick. Because it's contaminated. That's the type of cultured form of living, righteous living for the masses. But that's not the real positive state. Of course, everything is a matter of comparison. Those who are evil all the time, compared to that, people who maintain goodness with limitations. Next type of vasana, called udar. Literal meaning of udar is generous, but it's an allegorical word. If you are angry, you become generously angry. There is no restriction. That's called udar. And in your generosity of anger, you feel so happy and relaxed that if anybody marks, you shouldn't be angry. Don't you know anger is a vikara, is a mala, is impurity? How dare you say that? This is righteous wrath. This is not anger. So these are variations of the vasanas. The goal is reached when you attain enlightenment. Then vasanas that exist in your mind is predominantly sattvic. And another quality, the vasanas will not cause rebirth. They will appear in your mind. Just like you have learned a particular language, or you live with your mother tongue. And while learning your language, you learn certain terms that others don't use, and they are considered not so much grammatical. If you become enlightened, your tongue doesn't undergo any transformation. You will be speaking the same language. But no matter how you are expressing, your heart is beyond limitation. It's not difficult to understand it. No matter how does a mother express to the child, it's the heart that matters. And that point has to be understood. Enlightenment. If you are not enlightened, then one set of vasana dissolves, brings about its fructification. But another set of vasana is generated. One set is wearing off. But in the meantime, another set is getting ready. For easier understanding, think of karmas. Karmas are three types. Sanchit karma, accumulated storehouse. Of the accumulated storehouse where karmas cannot be counted, it's boundless. Only a pinch of that accumulated storehouse becomes your prarabdha that has given you this physical body. And while you are working out the prarabdha, you are creating new karmas. New karmas go in two ways. Some karmas will join your sanchita, accumulated storehouse, and wait for 3 incarnations later to operate. Some karmas will operate in your day-to-day life. You did something negative and you will have the results next week. Say nasty things to a person, the person slaps you. You don't have to wait for even days. But that's the predicament of karma if you are not enlightened. If you are enlightened, all sanchit karma, accumulated storehouse, completely becomes burnt up. Figurative word. Simply doesn't exist. And future karmas cannot be formed. Karmas are like popcorns. You enjoy them, but while you are enjoying them or spilling the popcorns, those popcorns will not germinate. But you are not enlightened, you are not eating popcorns, you are eating type of thing that, just like there are certain fruits with seeds, you eating them and throwing the seeds. And seeds go on germinating later. So while you reap the fructification of karma, you are creating new karma. That point is important to understand. But karmas will exist even when you are enlightened. As long as enlightened one has a physical body, that body is dependent upon the type of karma that produced the. Only difference, new karmas cannot be generated. So, enlightened one experiences prarabdha, the karma that gave rise to his physical body. And prarabdha operates aniccha prarabdha, ichcha prarabdha, parecha prarabdha. Things happen in your life that are completely in harmony with your expectations. That's called ichcha prarabdha. You wanted tomorrow to no rains and beautiful breeze, and not too cold temperature. And same thing happened. Parecha prarabdha. You don't have any idea what to do, etc. You are satisfied wherever you are. But people around you, your near and dear ones, they have made a big plan. They have already bought tickets. And you simply flow along it with it. And aniccha prarabdha, act of God. Suddenly storm comes in, hurricane comes in. Many Mahatmas living in their ashram gets dissolved. And I will not go into detail, easy to understand. That's parecha prarabdha. All these occur in every individual, but for the sage, they occur for the last time. No new embodiment. Pure vasanas is the eradicator. Pure vasana is the eradicator of the process of rebirth. It exists in the personality of a sage. Just a circle of fire is seen due to the revolution of a firebrand. Simile is given just to show that it is just appearance. To the real experience of the sage is not affected. If you are dreaming and you become aware that this is a dream, the dream continues, but you are completely relaxed. That's the profound description. Moving towards it is karmic movement, gradual, progressive movement. In other words, in spite of difficult, challenging situations, if you feel you can stay relaxed and allow your inner movement to continue joyously, then you are learning the art of looking at the world as a dream and having a little sniff of the waking state until you have nothing but to sniff. Waking state becomes your reality. Due to his wisdom, the sage has no perception at all of his individualized state. But to others, his personality continues to exist. Even as an illusory circle is perceived on the basis of a firebrand. Firebrand means if you have a rope, a small size rope, kindle the end of the rope, create a spark type of, so that it's lit up with a spark, and then circle it. Firebrand. Play with it. Now when you play with it, an onlooker sees a circle of fire. But there is no circle. So the entire world experience is an illusory display of consciousness. Consciousness is fire. That fire is being projected by thought waves of your mind. In other words, when you watch the cinema show, it seems all continuous. But it is not continuous. Frame after frame, just like in Firebrand, it is not continuous. And yet it appears continuous. That's old style simile. Modern simile is easy to understand. In a cinema show, frames after frames are being projected. But in between two frames, there is a break. That break you don't see. If you realize that break, then you understand all that show is presenting is appearance, not real. So you don't have to shake when you see a vampire with his mouth filled with blood and all that. Rather you get amused that look at how tomato juice is making that type of color. Two types of observer. One sees the tricks played in a cinema show while watching the show. Another sees the soft neck and beautiful body of a person being terrorized, and he shakes. That's a simple illustration. One who is in bondage and one who is not in bondage, liberated. Both are watching the show. The show is the same. Now, we come into some basic studies of Yoga Vasishtha. Sage Valmiki continued, O Bharadwaja, I shall relate to you the process by which Sri Rama attained Jivan Mukti, liberation in life. Listen to this auspicious story which will enable you to attain liberation. Having returned from Gurukul, Sri Rama lived happily for some time. King Dasharatha, his father, ruled over his kingdom with righteousness and justice. Peace prevailed everywhere. In the course of time, Sri Rama became desirous of visiting holy places. He approached his father, King Dasharatha, and sought his permission. Reverential father, you have never turned away a suppliant. I long to visit holy places and the hermitages of the ascetics. Please permit me. That's the storyline, and it's important to follow these simple points of the story. And behind that, there's a moral, mystical insight. The Rama, before he receives the profound wisdom of Yoga Vasishtha, he had prepared himself by many virtuous deeds. He lived his ideal life with his parents, considering the parents as gods, Matridevo Bhava, Pitridevo Bhava. And receiving guidance of Sage Vasishtha. He lived that type of life. But while living that life, still early his age, he's moving towards, say, 12, 13. Suddenly he develops a desire to go and visit pilgrimage centers. That allows him to have a special effect on his personality. Provides him with good association. That's the purpose of pilgrimage centers. And the Yoga Vasishtha gives all the names: Prayag, Naimisharanya, Kedarnath, Pushkar, Gaya. Sages created so many pilgrimage centers in India. You see. Whole scriptures are put down on geographical sections of the country. Here is Rama, here is Nameshwara, here is Badri Kedar. So everywhere, lots of Shiva temples, and Shiva, Devi, Vishnu, and so forth. Rama visited them all. And in all places, he also performed acts of charity, gave lots of things, being a great prince. And Rama went along with his brother Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Bharata, according to storyline, was with his maternal parents. After Sri Rama's return from his pilgrimage, there was 8 days were spent in festive celebrations. Sri Rama lived for a while joyously at home. When the princess returned, there was a joyousness and celebration all over Ayodhya. Thus did Sri Rama pass his days at his father's palace. His conduct was enchanting to others. He delighted the hearts of all people who lived around him. But, section 5, later Sri Rama had attained 15 years of age, and so had his brothers Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, and that's it. Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrugna, the 4 brothers. Then gradually, just as a lake shrinks to a smaller size in winter, so too Rama began to wither day by day. Like lotus-like face, his lotus-like face became pale. He sat motionless, like a painted picture, ever engaged in anxiety, ever engrossed in anxiety. And his brothers followed his example. They too became immersed in grief. In brief, Rama is the focus. All that Tirtha Yatra and Satsanga that he enjoyed resulted in him by bringing about spirit of Vairagya, dispassion, an understanding of the transience of all things. Outwardly, externally, it appears like a tragic situation, but it is most profound spiritual development. And that is brought out even in the story of Buddha, that his early days, he began to develop intense dispassion. He sees a sick person and he asks, are all going to be sick? And he learns that everybody is vulnerable to sickness. He sees old person, says, are everybody going to be aged? And so forth. There's a whole story behind. Everybody sees all these tragic situations and they don't care. But Buddha type of personality has a different reaction. It is described as something painful, but it has a totally different implication. Just like if your arm was insensitive, paralyzed, you didn't feel anything. But one day you start saying, that mosquito has bitten my arm. Doctor becomes pleased. Good. And sensitivity develops in your heart with this understanding. All things of this world are transient. Then what's the goal? Who am I? Well, this development is the positive sign, a very blessed indication that the soul is going to attain enlightenment. King Dasharatha, deeply concerned at this, asked Sri Rama about the cause of his grief. But Sri Rama would not state any cause for his sorrow. Then Dasharatha, King Dasharatha, inquired of sage Vasishtha regarding the condition of Sri Rama. Sage Vasishtha answered, O king, do not let this give rise to sorrow. Sri Rama's grief will turn out to be auspicious. Great men are not overcome by anger, dejection, and elation due to petty causes. Sri Rama is not overcome by sorrow due to ordinary reasons. Vasishtha explained that to Ram, King Dasharatha. Vasishtha already knew the potentiality of Ram. And we continue with the storyline. King Dasharatha waited patiently for the opportune conditions when Sri Rama might be freed from his pain. And it so happened that sage Vishwamitra was performing austerity in a nearby forest. But demons began to disturb his practices. His sacrificial altar was rendered impure by demons pouring flesh, blood, and impure materials over it. The storyline has its own fascinating details. But behind the storyline, there is always a mystical insight. The storyline here is Vasishtha needs Rama's help. Mystical line, Vishwamitra's project is a project to help all. The spirit of Upanishad, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, may all be happy. If you are working in that direction, and how do you do it? Take up the path of attaining God realization. But when you adopt that movement, impurities that are lurking in your unconscious, subconscious, they begin to interrupt your sadhana. This is described in the terms of the story, that Vishwamitra creates yajna, and the fire is blazing, and then suddenly the whole container of blood is poured into that fire. Sandalwood is being put, but suddenly lots of onions and garlics emanating from the. This is a visual imagery. And it has a ritual aspect, it has its own value. Hindu culture enjoys performing various rituals, and those rituals allow the people to listen to a lot of mantras, lot of divine stories, satsanga, and even the herbal smell going into the nose has a profound effect. So all that has its own purpose. But at the same time, a deeper meaning has to be understood. The deeper meaning is that that type of sacrifice has to occur within your own personality. Anger, hate, greed, they have to be sacrificed, sublimated. But in order, following this story, Vishwamitra knows by his intuition, by his subtle experience, that Rama is incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and he has all the potentiality to destroy impurities. So he approached King Dasharatha. King Dasharatha bowed his head at the feet of Vishwamitra, greeted him with soft and sweet words, and he gave many wondrous expressions of adoration for the sage, and said, "O sage, command, order me, and I will give you anything you want." It's a great privilege of that you have come, you have given me darshan. And Vishwamitra tells the story that each time he performs yajna, rakshasas, demons disturb his yajna, and therefore he has come Your son Sri Ramachandra is verily a lion for destroying the elephant-like demons. Protected by me, he will destroy all the terrible demons, and I will be able to perform my sacrifice unobstructed. Please do not waver from your promise due to your affection for Rama. The moment King Dasharatha hears it, he becomes profoundly distressed. The idea of being separated from his beloved son, Dasharatha could not bear it. O sage, Sri Rama is not yet 16 years of age. I do not see that he is fit for fighting the terrible demons. I shall myself fight for you with my vast army. And also, lately Sri Rama has been undergoing mental distress, has grown weak and emaciated. He doesn't eat or drink properly. I cannot send Rama with you, O sage. And so forth. A lot of words are used. And all this in section 9 results in Vishwamitra's anger. O king, it doesn't befit a king born in Raghu's race to render his words false. How is it that you are not able to keep your promise? I will go back as I came. As Vishwamitra grew angry within, the earth quaked. The gods in the heavens were terrified, knowing not what might be the intention of the mighty sage. Then sage Vasishtha, in order to appease the anger of Vishwamitra, spoke, O king, you are endowed with excellent virtues and prosperous conditions. It doesn't befit thee to relinquish your dharma. It is by virtue of your dharma alone that you are famous in the three worlds. Remember how the mighty kings of ancient times kept their words, even at the risk of their lives. And so forth, Vasishtha goes on persuading King Dasharatha. And with this I will conclude. What happens? That's all this leading to Vasishtha giving series of teachings. But first stage you have to hear Rama talking about the emptiness and vanity in all worldly pleasures. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.